You've tried to get your life together. You followed the steps, you downloaded the apps, you filled out the planner. You told yourself, this time I'm serious. And maybe you were, but somehow it still fell apart. The momentum faded, the routines collapsed. You disappeared on yourself again. And when you stumble, the answers don't change. Just do it. Wake up earlier. Discipline is a choice. You have to push harder. No more excuses. You don't want it bad enough. Nobody's coming to save you. As if willpower is the missing piece. As if you haven't already tried everything 10 times over. You don't get real answers, you get slogans. And when those don't work, they blame you. Suddenly, it's not just that life is hard, it's that you are weak, that you lack character, that somehow this is all your fault. It's not just failure, it's personal. And maybe you believe them. Maybe you start believing, I'm lazy. I'm just not built for this. I'm broken. The advice tells you to fix your mindset or build better habits, but it treats each one like a solo project, like you can fix your brain in a vacuum. The truth is, none of these things exist in isolation. They are parts of a whole. You are a system, a living, breathing system made up of your beliefs, behaviors, routines, relationships, patterns, trauma responses, energy cycles, and expectations. That internal system is operating inside external systems, family, capitalism, ableism, culture, history. And your outcomes, they're not random. They are system outputs. But here's the trap. Most people keep trying to tweak the output, be more productive, be more consistent, and more disciplined. But outputs are effects. They're downstream. If you want different results, you have to change what's feeding the system. And that starts with seeing the system clearly. That's what PGQ does. It's a diagnostic framework I created that helps you map the inputs so you can finally understand the real levers behind your outcomes. At its core, it all comes down to this. Personal outcome equals you times action times environment times circumstances. Each core variable represents a part of the system that affects your capacity, your choices, and ultimately your outcomes. I broke each of these 4 inputs or variables down into what I call sub-variables, or the internal mechanics that explain how each part actually works. And beneath those are the terminal variables, or the most specific observable signals we can track, intervene on, or design for. Why? Because if you want consistent change, you don't just need insight, you need leverage. Subvariables help us understand where the friction is coming from. Terminal variables help us decide exactly where to apply pressure or design support. This equation doesn't define who you are in a fixed way. It defines who you are functionally right now. It's a current snapshot of how your system is wired, how your beliefs, behaviors, surroundings, and life conditions are interacting. And here's the thing, you didn't necessarily design that equation. Most of us inherited it from our parents, from the systems we were raised in, from survival patterns we didn't choose but had to follow. Some people inherit systems that actually work. They get handed resources, buffers, tools, and support. Others inherit chaos, friction, trauma, and contradiction. And yet we're all still expected to perform the same. But if your system isn't aligned with the outcome you're trying to reach, it will break down. Not because you are broken, but because your system wasn't designed to deliver that result. Once you learn how to map your system using your equation, you stop blaming yourself and you start seeing exactly where the breakdown is and what to do about it. This isn't about blaming your parents or your past or excusing your choices. You're still responsible for your life, but responsibility is not the same as fault. There's a difference between owning where you are and believing you chose every condition that got you here. You didn't choose your trauma. You didn't choose ADHD. You didn't choose poverty, racism, generational pressure, housing insecurity, violence, or instability. You didn't build the system that taught you rest was lazy, that hypervigilance was love, or that your worth had to be proven to be protected. But you're still expected to show up, produce, be okay, to fix yourself. That's what most self-help doesn't say. It acts like you're starting from neutral, like you can just will yourself into better outcomes if you want them badly enough. But that's not how systems work. A system can only produce what it's built to produce. And remember, most of us are running equations we didn't design. Let me show you what my equation looked like around the time I created PGQ several months ago. I was still in survival mode. I didn't think of myself as powerful. I thought of myself as broken, scattered, so behind. The kind of person with potential but no grip on her life. The kind who always starts strong then fades. But I still believed in growth. I believed people could change even if I couldn't prove it yet. And I carried a deep sense of personal responsibility for my kids, for my choices, for my future. I was holding on to scraps of hope. Even while I was burning out, I wanted to heal. I wanted to contribute. I just didn't know how to sustain any of it. Action. This was the part of my system with the most friction. I tried hard, constantly. I watched the videos, took notes, planned like my life depended on it, but I avoided hard things. Planned more than I executed, started strong, then shut down, and fear hijacked my follow through. Discipline cracked under pressure, my habits didn't stick, consistency only showed up in crisis, and I didn't need more ideas, but I also came up with them all the time. I needed rhythm, but every time I pushed, I burned out, and when I stopped, the progress vanished. No momentum, no carryover, just collapse. I finally had my own space after years of living with other people, but it still reflected my survival self. Boxes in the kitchen all over the floors, clothes on the floor, on the bed, barely any furniture. I was parenting through clutter and overstimulation. No rhythm, no scaffolding, just me holding everything up, running on fumes. Support existed, but it wasn't structured. Encouragement came in pockets from my mom, brother, and older son. And I was blessed with my mom. She gave me free childcare so I could work. So without her, nothing would have moved forward. But most of my tools were dormant. Motivational videos, self-help books, productivity, podcasts. I was swimming in insight, but starving for application. No routines, no usable flow. Digitally, I was drowning. 70 tabs plus open, notifications everywhere. Even my Fitbit was buzzing at me. My environment didn't lift me, it drained me. As far as starting point, by age 9, I'd already lived through contradiction. So much love, but also abandonment, instability, and sexual abuse. More currently, I was a single mom with 2 children at home, one of whom had ADHD and 3 adult kids already out in the world, including one I didn't raise. No co-parenting, no partner, no health insurance, no margin for mistakes. I had disability income, but it wasn't enough to build stability, just enough to keep things barely moving. And I was working part-time nights, wrestling bipolar mood swings, ADHD paralysis, and chronic pain. I didn't feel stable in my body, my mind, or my money, but I still had to keep going, still had to produce, still had to parent, still had to pretend like I wasn't falling apart. Now that system produced this output: exhaustion, missed deadlines, half-finished projects, emotional spirals, quiet shame. It produced impulsive spending, erratic sleep, and deep regret. It left dishes in the sink and dreams in my drafts. It made me brilliant in my mind, but invisible in the world. That system didn't just hurt my progress, it hurt my body, my confidence, my connection with the people I love. But it also produced PGQ, because buried beneath The chaos was a clear, repeatable pattern. And once I could see it, I stopped asking what's wrong with me and started asking, what system am I running? I had a goal to build a business, a legacy, something that would finally work for people like me. And the equation I was running, it wasn't built for that. But PGQ is helping me build the equation that does. It didn't erase 48 years of survival patterns overnight, but it gave me something I'd never had: system visibility and awareness. And with that visibility, I finally stopped redesigning my goals and started redesigning my system. Because here's what I know: we are all headed somewhere. Time makes sure of that. So the real question is your system aligned with your vision, or is it silently building a destination you never meant to arrive at? Every system is producing something. PGQ just helps make sure it's what you actually want. Now, I didn't set out to build a framework. I was just trying to survive. I had tried different things like journaling, routines, vision boards, therapy, mindset shifts. I consumed all the self-help I could find, and a lot of it wasn't wrong. It just didn't go deep enough. It told me what to do, but never helped me understand why I couldn't do it, or how to make those tools actually fit into the life I was living. I didn't know how my habits, triggers, routines, trauma, and responsibilities fit together. I didn't know I was running a system, so I kept trying to fix the symptoms, when what I needed was a map of the whole machine. And that's what PGQ gave me. It didn't replace the tools. It made the tools make sense. It made them usable, customizable, buildable. It showed me where the real breakdown was, not necessarily in my mindset, but in my equation. So I stopped blaming myself, and I started building a system that could actually carry the life I was trying to build. Not just personal growth, systemic transformation. But it wasn't just me. I started seeing it everywhere. People who weren't broken, just misaligned. People who tried everything except system redesign. People who were told to work harder. People who were told we all have the same 24 hours. And that pisses me off right there, because we might all have the same 24 hours available, but we don't all have the same day. Some people wake up inside structures that drain their energy before the day even starts, through caregiving, chronic illness, bureaucracy, fear, or survival mode. Every one of us is carrying a load we didn't necessarily choose. Just because you can't see the friction doesn't mean it's not there. Time may be technically available, but it's not always accessible. And when it is, it's not always usable. And that's not a mindset issue. That's the friction PGQ reveals. It's not just what you're doing with your time, it's what your system is doing to it. So while I built PGQ for myself, I hope to use it for others. Everyone who's ever thought, I'm doing everything right, so why does it still feel like I'm failing? PGQ doesn't fix you. It lets you fix the system you were never meant to stay trapped inside. If any part of this landed, if you saw yourself in any of this and you want to learn a little bit more about PGQ, there's a PDF link in the description. Inside this free PGQ Starter Guide, you'll find the 5 PGQ premises that reframe how we see success and struggle, a breakdown of the 4 core variables, and the truth about why your outcomes aren't random and not your fault. So you can finally understand the true reason behind your inconsistent results, burnout, or lack of follow through. Look, I'm not a guru. I'm not on stage telling you I figured it all out. I'm a single Black mother with ADHD in a system that still glitches all the time. But I stopped waiting for someone else to fix it, and I started building a framework that made sense of what I was living through. And I call it PGQ. And it's changed my life. Not because I'm at the top of some mountain, but because I finally stopped starting over at the bottom. But don't just take my word for it. Question it, test it, Run it against your own life, because this isn't about believing me. It's about finally seeing the logic behind what you've been living. And if this spoke to you, stick around because I've got more videos coming. PGQ breakdown of one haunting quote from Tyler Perry's new film, Straw. A look at influencer-led viral routines, i.e. Ashton Hall, and why it's a trap. A step-by-step breakdown of how I use PGQ to bridge the gap between knowing what matters and actually following through, and what it really looks like to build my PGQ IP empire in public as a Black neurodivergent single mom founder. We're going to take ideas like these and run them through PGQ so you can actually see the system you're running and how to change it. So if you want to keep seeing what PGQ reveals, follow, subscribe, and share, or whatever staying connected looks like for you.